I did want to spend a few minutes talking about the CCM Motown tournament from this past weekend. A lot of Michigan teams in action, among them being the MDHL and the MHA, Bell Tire, VH, OJG, Bigby, among others. The CCM Motown is actually a tournament I'm quite familiar with. I actually worked on this tournament for a couple of years, handling like the marketing and social media and promotions of the event, I'll say. Celebrated its 20th anniversary of the event taking place right here in Hockeytown. And I believe it's still the second largest youth hockey tournament in the world with 350, more than 350 participating teams across 9 different age groups. So a big shout out there to John Sutton, Sasha Ristic over there at 200 by 85. They put in a ton of work for this event, and it's a fantastic one, and it's right here in our backyard too. So a couple things worth noting. MHA Red won the championship in the top 18U division of the tournament. They beat BioSteel Sports Academy for, I believe, the 3rd time this fall. They thumped Pittsburgh Icemen pretty good, 9-3, and then they beat the Sioux Indians from up north 3-1. And if you want to do the transitive property a little bit here, the Sioux, that's a team that's beaten HoneyBaked and Compuware already this season. That MHA Red squad finished the fall with an 18-1-1 record, and absolutely should be in the mix with those other top 18U AAA teams in Michigan. You know, at one point was rated the #1 team in the state among AAA teams. I think My Hockey Rankings has tweaked those a little bit, but still, I think very much in consideration for that top spot when you start to look at who they've beaten. You do the transitive property there a little bit and who beat who and all that. Bell Tire made it to the semifinals of the 16U division. They lost to BioSteel Sports Academy, which ended up being the eventual division champion. They lost 5-2 in the semis. BioSteel also eliminated MDHL from the playoffs with a 4-3 win on Saturday. That MDHL 16s team, I thought had a really good showing. You know, they went 1-2-1 on the weekend, but they take the eventual champs down to the wire. They lose a game, like I said, they lose 4-3 in a playoff game there. They also beat the Pittsburgh Predators 1-0. They tied the Cleveland Wildcats 2-2. Those are two kind of middle of the pack AAA teams in the country and compete and show well there. That probably put the MDHL 16s somewhere between Bell Tire, who's 4th, and HoneyBaked, who's 5th among 16U AAA teams in the state. Again, kind of playing that transitive property and doing some funny math there. But, you know, considering when you start looking at like shared opponents, you know, both MDHL and Bell Tire played the Cleveland Wildcats. Bell Tire beat them 5-4. MDHL tied them 2-2. Pittsburgh Predators, Bell Tire beat them 3-1. MDHL beat them 1-0. BioSteel, that's the 40th ranked team in Canada Prep. Bell Tire beat them 4-1 and then lost 5-2. MDHL lost 4-3. All of those games super close and super very much in the mix. So I think it's a really good showing for the MDHL 16s. Would certainly put them in the mix as well with those Bell Tires, the HoneyBakes, the Fox Motors, maybe even of the world in that 16U AAA scene. And then, you know, when you factor in other top 2008s in high school hockey, and I look at guys like Connor Arco from Houghton, Tevin Stukel, I've talked about a bunch from Hancock, Cully Hayes, Seth Sandstrom, some of the top 16U guys from MHA, Gavin Winterstein, Donovan Durbin, Jake Rao, Jack Pierzynski, Brady Damian in net. If you took a collective of the best 08s in Michigan high school hockey, the top players from the MDHL, the top players from the MHA, the top kids from the UP, I think that's a really strong contender on the AAA scene as well. You know, MDHL, I think, just proved it with only a fraction of the top 16s in high school hockey. I'd like to see this happen. Not quite sure how we get it done, but anything to continue moving the needle there and pressing towards something bigger and better, I think would be awesome. It'd be good competition, good exposure, good for growing the game. I think it just proves that the guys that are here in high school hockey are legit and they're on par or at the very least comparable to those in the AAA world. And hell, most of those guys came from the AAA world. Alex Horley, who was on that MDHL 16 team, played for Compuware before he moved on to Allen Park. Jack Dorgan, a CC kid. Will Nodal, a Cranbrook kid, played for OJG. Jake Rao, who's with Tri Valley now. Donovan Durbin, Trenton, both played for Caesars. There's more. I just quit searching after that because I'd already made my point with 5 or 6 guys right off the top. If MDHL and MHA combined their efforts and you were able to put some sort of collective of the top high school guys from the UP and put together a bit of a all-star team or teams even at the 16U and the 18U levels would just be nasty, I think. I got a question over the weekend too about like why doesn't the MDHL or the MHA schedule games against those in-state AAA teams then? If they're comparable, if they can compete, why not get them on the schedule? And I think it's more because they can't. It's not because, they don't want to or they avoid it, but like I don't think Bell Tire wants those games. I don't think HoneyBaked wants those games. And I don't blame them. It really puts those AAA organizations in a lose-lose situation. If you beat the high school team, so what? You were supposed to beat them. And if you beat them by a lot, it's a waste of a game, right? Nobody wants blowouts at any level. And if you lose, then what? Then things really get thrown out of whack, I think. Why is one side paying 10K in ice bills and travel and tournaments just to lose to a ragtag bunch of rental players who got together for a weekend tournament? It's a high risk and a low reward, I think, for a AAA team to take on an MDHL or an MHA or a collective of the two. So I'm kind of left then to play the ridiculous transitive property game of who beat who and by how much. Uh, I'm not saying I like it. I'm just making sense of the situation, for the people at home listening and watching. I want these games to happen, and sometimes they do, right? Like I said, MHA played the Sioux over the weekend, and they have played the Fox Motors and VHs of the world a couple times in years past. So those games sometimes happen, but I think all of this is very different story if you truly had the best players from across high school hockey involved, not just the team MDHL fields or the team that MHA fields, uh, or the kids from the UP, for an instance. So, anyways, all right, I'll get off my soapbox here. All in all, good weekend of hockey at the CCM Motown. Let's get into some regular season talk. We'll get into conference previews next here.